Hello, everybody. God. Hello, everybody. Welcome to... Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tadaima, Terrace House Podcast, your weekly companion to your favorite show on Netflix. I'm Robert Scarpanito, and I am joined here by Daily Wilhelm.
Konbanwa.
Jack Cepeda.
Irashaimasa, and what up to everyone that is joining our show this week? We missed you guys.
And Colin Sparling.
Hello, everybody. Hope you and yours are doing well.
Yeah, and I want to open
wholesome.
up. I want to open up by just saying, we shouted out a lot of countries last week, and we got some YouTube comments, and I just want to say, Australia, come on, you know we love you. You already know. You don't need to say it.
What up, Somalia? What up, Bahrain? What up? Let me look
Zanzibar
at this list here.
land.
Hold on. No, Zanzibar. What up, Marrakesh? We're getting some exotic fans here.
Listen,
Atlantis?
but we can't take away from our friends over in Australia and Tasmania, because, I mean, the land down under, man. Honestly, when I think Australia, I don't always associate them with Terrace House. I don't think, Australians are big into Terrace House.
Let's go around this. Oh, dude, the people listening to this show are going to come at you in the comments now.
I'm glad I know now. I'm way more well informed.
Let's go around the table. What do you think about when you think about Australia? Because I think about just a country that's constantly trying to kill you, funnel web spiders, giant rattlesnakes, giant decked out, huge, just friggin' Mandingo looking kangaroos that just are going to jack you. That's what I think about when I think about Australia.
Let's play a game of everybody's a little bit racist.
Is it racist to think about kangaroos?
I think about our lovely listeners.
We're stereotyping a country. Is that racism?
I do. Yeah. And now I'm like, it's cool because there are Terrace House fans in Australia, and some of them listen to the show, and we heart you guys.
Not anymore after this.
So more importantly, before about 2 minutes ago, those Australian fans, y'all have been with us since week 1, and I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
That's cool. Very cool.
I come from a land down under.
Okay, I think if we make one more cultural appropriation joke, they might actually come for us.
I'm just impressed that they listen upside down.
Yeah, and this is the most. This is.
I was just gonna let that one hang, but
the toilet squirreled the other direction too, right? That's not racist, right?
Well,
we're just naming
we know about Australia. Is that what this episode's gonna be? No, it's not, because today we're talking about something perfect. We're talking about Yuto Handa.
It's where Outback Steakhouse comes from, right?
No.
Oh, Jack, you're off the show.
Get
out of here. Get out of the studio.
Outback Steakhouse was made by an American dude who had never been to Australia.
I'm just kidding. I know that. I know. Okay, keep going.
Hansan.
Yes. Yuto Handa.
His last name is a car.
Yuto Handa.
I forgot that his name wasn't Hansan, and his last name was actually
Honda. And it's not Honda, it's Honda.
Yeah, with an A. Yeah, so it's a little different.
Yeah, it's not Honda.
He can still start his own car company.
This boy, we were kind of wrestling with whether or not it was worth having an entire episode dedicated to him. But now that we're in the middle of doing it, I have to say in my heart, this feels right. This feels true. This feels like
this
feels like what a good Terrace House podcast would do. It would be to dedicate a whole episode to this one golden god of a man who I think now understands English, so I'm a little bit more self-conscious about everything I say.
Yo.
Yeah,
he's listening.
So I actually saw he writes very well in English, because I followed him on Instagram, and a lot of his posts are completely in English and very well written English.
Huh.
So he must be able to speak it.
Well, yeah. I mean, he talked about it on the show. When he was on the show, keep in mind, this was, 3 years ago now?
Oh, yeah, he did mention studying it. I don't know if he ever said he spoke it well, though.
Yeah.
And in regards to the history of our humble podcast, it's been a while since one person got their own show. I think Shunsuke, right, was the last time we dedicated a episode to a person.
Yuki Tap. Tap sense.
Oh, wait. Oh, and it wasn't even that long ago. Never mind. Forget everything I said.
Yeah, and also that thumbnail is really choice. If you don't know about our YouTube channel, check out the thumbnail for that one, because it's so good. Shout out to Dave.
Pretty proud of that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, so we're focusing on Hansan today, and we figured it doesn't make as much sense to kind of go through it episode by episode chronologically, because much like with us, Hansan has touched the lives of many people in the house. And I think it just makes a lot of sense to kind of go through all of his relationships in the house. But first, one thing I kind of want to throw out to the table here is first at Jack and Colin, this is your second time through, at least, through Boys and Girls in the City.
Third for me.
How has your impressions of Hansan changed or perhaps stayed the same since the last time you've seen the show?
He is, I think, everything that happens with Hansan in the house is just as, if not more, humbling and inspirational to me now that I watch it now, because I'm closer to where Hansan was when he was on the show, in that like he was in kind of like grad school, he was studying hard, he was like trying to get in, you know, he's about to go into the workforce, and that's similar to the sort of place that I'm about to be in my own life. So I related to it that much more. And so it was just as great as I remembered. The only difference is I remember, and it could have been just because it was my first time watching it the last time, but I remember his stint on the show feeling like it was a lot longer the first time. I felt like he was pretty like, he was gone really quick this time around.
I don't know if I'm just like binging it and just doesn't seem like a long time, but yeah, it's not long enough. I mean, he could have been there a lot longer,
right,
and I think everyone in the house would have been just fine with it. But it really pays off. It's like a fine wine, man. He gets better with age, meaning that I watched him for the first time 2 years ago, roughly, then watched all of Aloha State, watched all of Opening New Doors. And when you come back and watch BGITC again, you just come to appreciate him even more now. The more, Terrace House you watch, it's just, I don't know. So every time I rewatch this series, this season, I come to appreciate him just a little bit more and more.
Yeah, I mean, and the crazy thing about Hansan, and part of what makes him so great, is there's like, you cannot poke a hole in almost anything that he does. Like,
he's pretty bulletproof, yeah.
He is. He's just such a solid dude. But
he does
here's
smoke.
the thing. It's like, what's the term in design? Wabi Sabi?
Wabi Sabi, yeah.
Yeah, where like he has that one flaw, right? So it almost makes him more appealing. Yeah, so
it's even
like,
better.
Yeah, so like the fact that he smokes, he's got that one vice, but otherwise he's fucking cool. He's cool.
Yeah. Explain to me what wabi sabi is. I thought you were talking about sushi here.
So Robert can explain it better than I can.
Wabi Sabi is the concept that if something is too perfect, it doesn't appeal to us as much because it is so perfect. And generally in life, like, there's that pretty cliche saying in a mystery novel, like, it seems almost too perfect, right? Like, that's just reality. But then when you look at, for example, the Apple logo, it's not an entire apple. There's like that little chunk that's been bitten out. That's a pretty classic example of wabi sabi in action.
I think I get it. It sounds like the first version the machines made of the Matrix, where the human brain rejected it because it was too perfect and happy. And then they had to introduce like flaws into it. Okay, I got it.
Some wabi sabi.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna...
I want to turn it to daily. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is my first time watching through, and maybe this is like a controversial opinion. It's not that I don't like Hansan. I do really enjoy him as a person, and I think it's just that he's got like his shit together. He's like 100% watertight. Like, he's like, maybe I'm gonna go to Harvard. Maybe I'm gonna go to Columbia. I'm doing really cool stuff and building stuff. But because of that, I'm like, why are you here? Why is he on the show? I don't understand what he stood to gain from this. Whereas otherwise, he just kind of was there to serve other people, which was great television to watch, to have that very adult presence that was able to steer some people out of some deep shit. But simultaneously, it's like, I want something for him. I want good times for him.
What did he get out of it? And he was one of the only people I can think of that came into the house currently in a relationship.
That surprised me so much.
And that's a big part of his character.
It felt almost shady in a way.
I see where you're coming from, Daly, and I think a lot of it stems from the producers wanting to strive for having just a variety of people on the show. But I definitely agree with you that most of Hansan's stint is spent either building stuff with members of the house, just lounging around, or giving people advice, or mediating.
A lot of mediating.
Yeah.
It's a lot of mediating, especially with Natsumi in the house. Natsumi is a wild force.
And Fuyumi. Fuyumi's
Fuyumi,
there too.
yes.
and Fuyumi.
Especially
But one thing that's undeniable to me is like his work ethic is just so inspirational, I guess, to me. Like it's very heartening to see that sort of work ethic. And, you know, when he finally says his goodbyes in the house, it's like, oh my God, this is, I don't even know this guy, but it's very sad to me that he's leaving. And he's so genuine that he cries when he's given a collage of all those memories he has with these people
And we
house
saw
that he just met.
We saw Tomo-san go through all the stages of grief too, like denial, anger, bargaining. We saw it all happen before our eyes because no one could believe that he was gone. They just and it did leave a gaping hole in the house that
Exactly.
how could you possibly fill it?
Yeah, and even the people that maybe we didn't even see on screen had that much of a relationship with Hansan, even they were sad that he was leaving.
Mm-hmm. I think with Hansan, where his strengths come is that he is so very different from anyone else who's been in the house. And if I had to guess, we probably won't see anyone like him in the house again for a very long time.
It's one of a kind.
Yeah, because
Tall order.
for one, I mean, there's just that inherent, that central, I don't want to say problem, but it's a part of his character in that he had a girlfriend at the time, right? While on Terrace House. And that's so rare considering a majority of the show is always about funneling, you know, couples together, bringing them together, letting them go on cute dates. Whereas Hansan doesn't go on any cute dates. All of his dates are taking care of the shit that the other people in the house are doing, you know?
Yeah, it's like he acts like Daly said, like to serve others in a way, like in a very selfless way. And I do want to go back to what Daly was saying was that it almost is shady that he came in the house with a girlfriend.
I just want to know, like, what was the thought process of like, hey, I'm going to sign up for Terrace House? And especially if his girlfriend has watched it before, it's like, why are you signing up for Terrace House? Like, how did he, not to say that like, oh, she must be like totally jealous, but like even telling your friends, how do you justify that? Because I don't particularly remember what he was telling like his group of architecture friends in the Atelier or however you say it. Atelier. When he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go to Terrace House and study and stuff.
If I remember when they're showing like their chins and their shins during that time where they're
Bless. The best combination.
Band name.
Yes.
My next band
I feel
name.
like he was saying
Chins and
something
shins.
like he's looking for inspiration for his architecture. I can't remember exactly though. It was a while since I saw that episode, but he was just looking for that next adventure. But man, and he seemed kind of initial impressions was that I thought he might be kind of immature, which is so weird. I don't know, maybe because he was smoking and he was just in a big cadre, a big room full of dudes just kind of shooting the shit. I didn't, but his character was so different than what I thought from that very first impression.
Well, yeah, because I remember my first impression of him was at first I thought, oh, he's 27 and still in college. That's, interesting. Maybe he like did some other stuff while he was younger. But then you pretty quickly learn, no, wait, this is his second undergrad degree because he just decided I want to learn more. And teaching wasn't what I wanted to do. So we're going architecture now.
He studies English, going to study in the States into Ivy League school. Like this dude is high class or upper tier.
And he's not stuck up about it. He's not boastful at all. Like it's just like, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, he's humble, and he just demonstrated too when they sat down on the couch. Just how put together he is. Like when Tomo-san asked him, "Do you have a girlfriend?" Well, since you asked twice, yes,
this is the second time you asked, but yes, I do.
Yeah,
I like that he calls shit out. Like he kind of established that very early.
He's a pretty direct guy, and this is experienced, I think, very well in his kind of mentorship, if that's maybe a word for it, of Natsumi. I think let's start diving into that. So we know Natsumi. We covered her a lot in our last episode. She tends to start some stuff. She's a dramatic person. She likes the drama, probably.
Shit-stirrer, as we
She's a
called
shit-stirrer. Yeah.
Yui.
So there's like two parts of his relationship with Natsumi, right? There's the one part where Natsumi clearly has a lady boner for him.
I was going to say she's jonesing for him, but I will go with what you said.
Yeah, I mean, even though he has a girlfriend, Natsumi said stuff like, oh, that's not what matters to me for whether I fall for someone or something like that,
Yeah, if it happens, it happens.
And I gotta say, like, part of that might have been encouraged by the impression it's like, but he's here. Like, he has a girlfriend, but he joined Terrace House. So maybe there's a weakness in that relationship and he's okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's a hole in his armor, so to speak.
That definitely stands to reason.
Yeah.
I think him with Natsumi, I don't know, that was definitely an interesting thing, but I don't think I ever got the feeling that Hansan was interested romantically in her ever.
No.
Man, but they have some very dynamic interactions, like when she asked him to go fishing, and then he just kind of in the heat of the moment, at the spur of the moment, I should say, not the heat of the moment, the spur of the moment, he's like, yeah, we'll go. And then he's like, fuck, I can't go to that. My girlfriend's expecting to go. She's going to see this. I'm going to look like a huge dick if I told my girlfriend I'm going to go fishing and then go with this girl first. So then he goes back in the room, and this is a very, like, poignant moment in the series, actually. Like, he's telling her, listen, I can't go. And what really got me at this moment is Natsumi's reaction, because she had some other shit going on in her life too, not just the Hansan thing. And she's also been kind of disappointed overall with the guys so far in the house. And and as we know with Natsumi, she came into the house looking for love, right? So Hansan here is like one of her last like hopes in a way of anything happening, as small as that might be. He kind of rejects her in a nice way. He's like, listen, I can't go fishing with you because I told my girlfriend, blah, 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 blah. And the way Natsumi's tears fall out of her eyes, it's like they fall, but they just go straight to the floor.
And she's like smiling.
Tear.
She's like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
She's an tear.
And I was like, whoa, this is a really crazy moment. And then he's like, listen, I'm going to drop everything right now. It's time to drink. Let's go drink. Let's go talk about what's bothering you. That was so cool. That was such a poised way to handle it.
That was the cool, like, one of the coolest ways I've ever seen someone handle a situation like that. And honestly, I was kind of in my head taking mental notes about that. I was like, that's a really good, well, because even Natsumi said in that situation, it wasn't just her getting put down by Hansan. It was a culmination of everything that was happening with her in the house. It was just a lot.
So can I play devil's advocate? So
be the devil.
Clearly, I think at this point, it's pretty obvious to Hansan that Natsumi has a thing for him, right?
Oh, yeah, probably. Yeah.
And he just essentially rejected her for a dato, correct?
Yeah,
right.
For a romantic date, yeah.
And then she started to cry, correct?
Yes.
So if I were in his shoes, my first reaction would not be, let's go on a drinking date.
It wasn't a date. It wasn't a date, but
it wasn't
you're
a
right.
date,
They're skating the line. They're on that gray area, very small area, slippery slope. And Tokui brings it up too. He's like, this is how affairs start, ladies and gentlemen. We're watching it happen before our eyes. They don't know what's happening. They don't know what's happening at all, but we can all see it in slow motion. And so I agree. It was definitely in danger. He was smart enough to kind of flap out of there before anything really happened. But it definitely was like maybe.
To do what he did takes a lot of self-control and a lot of poise and a lot of, I guess, foresight in some ways. Because you know what I mean? It all has to do with context in this situation. And I'm right there with you guys saying that, like, if I was in Hansan's shoes there, I'd be like, oh, shit. And I probably just would have rocketed out of there. I probably wouldn't have I'm probably going to leave you alone. I don't want to.
Bye.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not to be a dick, but it's like, because I would have thought I was the source of this person being
For
upset.
contrast, what would Noah have done? He wouldn't have done that.
Oh God. Oh
no,
God,
no.
I'm scared.
But but here's the thing about Hansan that is the major takeaway of this whole episode, and I'll repeat it again, I'm sure. Women want to be with him, guys want to be him in a way. I mean, he just emulates like very virtuous traits. And yeah, he does skate the gray area here, but he steps away definitely and without any fouls committed, so to speak.
Yeah, he comes away with his hands clean, and he gave Natsumi very good advice in the meantime.
And it isn't the only time he gives her advice, because every time Fuyumi comes around, it seems like Hansan's got to step in and play damage control, right?
Seriously.
Yeah, like I think Natsumi got mad at Tamo-san. I want to say at least twice.
Yeah. The first time
Yep.
was super flippant. It was just like, you speak too directly. Or like someone was like that to each other. I forget.
I think it was Hikaru that was speaking too directly, but I think with Misaki, wasn't it cleanliness, like general tidiness?
Yeah, it turned into
Yes.
like a couple different things because it was just like, well, you do this and you do that.
Right, but the real big one, of course, is the one where we don't even see this incident happen on screen. We see the minutes leading up to the incident and then the aftermath of it, but it's this moment where apparently Natsumi gets super drunk
Right.
to the point where Misaki says, "Your breath smells like alcohol," and Natsumi takes super offense to that.
Yeah, and
And
we spent
now
a lot
they-
of time
they
talking
hate.
about we spent a lot of time talking about that one this week or last week too.
Right,
So-
right. But to give quick context, yeah, it was after Tamo-san gets denied by Hikaru. She comes home, and Natsumi didn't handle it well.
She
Yeah,
made it
and-
about herself.
Yeah.
And so it's at this point, this is kind of the climax of, or maybe it's the falling action of where Hansan has been giving Natsumi all of this advice. And this has been pretty consistent throughout. He's always saying, hey, you've got to consider what other people think too, even though you may think, oh, this is bothersome, mendokusai, right? Like, for them, it's important. So if you want to be their friend, you have to at least pretend it's important to you too.
Right.
And no matter how many times he tries to hammer home that lesson, she doesn't seem to exhibit that she has learned it or internalized it. And it just leads to that one scene where they're arguing about the alcohol breath. And this may be the only time we really see Hansan break a little, where he actually says, "I need a smoke."
Yeah. When they were all sitting at the table in the kitchen and having the house meeting, and then Hansan's like, I need a smoke. This is getting crazy.
Eject.
Yeah, basically, yeah, because basically they're trying to get to the bottom of the issue and not let Natsumi leave until they have some sort of resolution. And it doesn't necessarily end in a resolution, but they get to the bottom of it to the point where Natsumi eventually confesses that it's hard to change. Things like that. She's trying to be a better version of herself, but it's just really difficult for her to break her old personality habits.
And man, I cannot imagine what the house would have been like if Fuyumi was allowed to just wreak havoc and rampage
Run
around the house.
rampant.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Hansan kept her in check a lot because she liked him. She respected him, more importantly, and she wanted to kind of make him proud. Is kind of like the way the impression I got. In a way, she wanted to show him that she could, follow the advice that he gave.
Yeah, Fuyumi's like the nine-tailed fox.
Now we're bringing up
And
Naruto here.
And Natsumi
Don't
is
bring
Naruto.
Naruto in this. Do
bring up
not
Naruto.
bring
Let's talk about
Naruto in
Naruto,
this.
guys.
And Natsumi has this fox sealed inside of her, and
What?
It doesn't even work that way.
Keep going.
and Hansan is Minato, and he's keeping that shit sealed inside of Natsumi as much as he can until it just kind of peeks his head out every once in a while.
Please make a Photoshop of this.
While we're talking about Hansan and Natsumi, it comes up late in the season, might be the second to last episode or the very last episode, but they come back to the house and visit and drink with everybody, and it was a cool thing. And then that's the last time you see them.
Yeah. And that's common. We've seen that in our coverage of Opening Your Doors as well. Lots of old alumni join the house later on again.
Sana-san!
Oh, God. Sana has been
Sana.
in almost every season.
But man,
Hagumi! Hagumi!
Hansan touched the lives of everybody, though, right? Not just Natsumi, including us. He touched our lives too, like you said.
Touch our lives.
And so he had that moment as well with Arisa. He had that bonding where she was building the shop, she was putting things together. I'm pretty sure he volunteered to help her.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
said,
On top
"Oh,
of-
yeah,
on top of his 20 other projects. Because I feel like every time we see him, he's working on a different project for another client or friend.
totally,
Yep.
yeah."
He's a busy man.
They're talking in the playroom or the TV room, whatever it's called, the playroom, I think it is. And and he's working on his laptop. She goes to talk to him, talking about, like kind of just de-stress. And he's like, oh, well, we can totally build this, and it'll be cheap. It'll be like $60 a piece or whatever. And she's like, really? No way. And he's like, yeah, we're totally going to make it work. And like you said, Robert, he totally stopped what he was doing, dropped everything, dropped like his finals project or whatever it was to do this for. And it wasn't a small thing either. He made a lot of stuff for her and spent hours and hours and a lot of money too. I'm sure she reimbursed him, but still.
Right. He got excited about it. It felt like
he got in. He was as invested as she was for this.
Yeah. And so we get invested in all these projects with Arissa, and then he includes a lot of the housemates in his own personal projects at his atelier. He's Hansan brought Arman and
his construction worker Arman.
Yeah, construction worker Arman and Hikaru, I think, and brings them to wherever his atelier is, and they're like chopping wood and sawing stuff and
actually
when
he was talking with Arisa and talking about, hey, we're gonna make all this stuff, didn't he actually say something like, oh, I've got a guy, his name's Arman, he can help us out with making all this?
that was great.
Yeah,
he's not busy.
Yeah,
he's not busy.
Just revisiting that a scene with Arisa one more time, I want to echo what Tokui said in the moments after this when he was analyzing it himself, in that this is an interaction where you can tell that there's no romantic tension. And it's not in like a bad way, not like there's no chemistry, but this is just two platonic people working together on something, which I should not be applauding, right? Like that should just be basic human decency. But the fact that it's on Terrace House is pretty magnificent.
Shocking. Like I feel like if there was any like sidelong glances from Arisa, it was just pure wholesome admiration of like, wow, that's really great of him to like help me with this, and he's got great ideas.
He's very capable and he's very competent. He exhibits just really nice traits to have in a friend and a colleague.
Overall, with all the stuff that happens with Hansan, I mean, he comes across as charismatic. He's always willing to help people. He plays mediator and stuff like that. And even though he didn't come to Terrace House to do a specific thing or like look for the longing love, the last love, the love of his life, whatever, I think he still came on top. Hansan leaves the house.
He took no L's. No L's.
He leaves the house with a shit ton of people that now know who he is, gains all these followers on his social media, has all this clout now. Probably has elevated his architecture career. I know based on his Instagram that he's now he does photography for like shooting movies.
Oh wow!
Allegedly,
he can do
stuff.
anything.
He's like,
I believe in him.
Yeah, he can do anything he wants. Yeah,
and he's a photographer, and I think he's like modeling now a little. Like this dude is fucking killing it.
And to bring up also what was said a little bit earlier, like he's busy as fuck. He's got his own shit going on. He's going to school. He's designing all these cafes. He's working on his final project, which looks like a shitload of work to do. Who knows how long I would take putting up those little cardboard models. Oh, my God. But he was busy, but he still made time for people. And that's like the real difference here. As we're talking about Hansan and Arisa, Arisa was just never in the house. She was just basically avoiding Arman until he forgot her name. Basically, that's what she was doing. And Hansan, meanwhile, was like really extending himself. Really putting himself out there to help out. And he really genuinely, I got the sense, cared about all 5 of his roommates in Terrace House.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a very special person, I think, because, just generally in life, it can be hard to balance the work stuff you need to do to survive and earn money to food. And then just the you time, right? But then also the friend time. Yeah. And that's always a constant struggle. We all know that. That's just inherent to human nature as it is. I feel like Hansan maybe doesn't have that much Hansan time because of how much time he dedicates to work and also friends.
Yeah, I feel he definitely seems the type that works himself to the bone. I mean, he talks about on the show that he never gets much sleep or whatever. I mean, the dude looks sleep deprived a lot of the time when he's on the show.
True.
You can tell he's got dark rings around his eyes.
I'm wondering maybe this is the way that God has nerfed him, because if he had free time, he would just become supreme ruler of the world that we all accept with open hearts.
He would become God.
I mean, we're just gonna listen, guys. this is just gonna be an episode of us basically gushing for the next however long we're gonna be going.
I don't have anything
There's very few bad things to say about the guy, but here's the thing. Before you fucking shit in my Wheaties here, Colin.
Gross.
The thing about it is he's so humble. Hansan is. He's so humble. He doesn't have a self-righteous bone in his body. You know, like he doesn't hold his achievements and his IQ and his put-togetherness over anyone's head. Like Tap kind of did a little bit, right? Like he's the opposite of that. And nothing exhibits that more than in what he said with Armand. He was constantly giving him pep talks. He was constantly, mentoring him, maybe inadvertently, not trying to mentor him, but it was just, he always had a good advice for him. And he gave Armand probably a nugget of knowledge that will probably stick with Armand for the rest of his life. I mean, I don't want to speak for the man, but it was a very profound moment on this season where he said, Armand, maybe you're not supposed to be a firefighter, and that's okay. You know, be who you are, be happy, and never change who you are. And he said that out of like genuine, sincere affection for Armand and for his personality. And it was a cool thing. And it's I don't know, just one of my favorite moments. Whether
Armand cherishes that little nug of dank info, I don't care. I do. That's such a good moment. Like that's TV. That's Hollywood, baby. Like that is like the
script writers everywhere were like, shit, write that down, that down.
Like the panelist said, that felt like it was scripted. Maybe it is. Yeah. We don't know. I say it's unscripted, but who knows, right? But nonetheless, the idea that there is a possible chance that this man went onto reality TV, spent a few weeks with a half Japanese, half Iranian boy from Hawaii, and then said that to him on the last day he would see him in the house, that you can't like, that's not real life.
You can't make that shit up.
I mean, I honestly think all the girls, I think everyone in the house respected him. I think the girls were also maybe pleasantly surprised that he was good at setting up boundaries too. You know, to like, we're friends. You know, I have a girlfriend. I'm not gonna cross that line. I'm not here for that. You know, and so he was able to, again, you know, just kind of sidestep and juke any kind of drama that might have happened.
It's true. I love Hansan, and I loved watching him on the show, and I hope he ends up doing great things. But just for a second, I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little bit now.
You motherfucker!
These devils up in here.
Yeah, what's up?
Know. Not today, Satan.
Rest in peace, devil.
Yeah, no. So to circle this back though, to Daly's question, why did Hansan come on the show?
Okay.
You know, because he's this bulletproof guy. He does great things. He has a lot of work ethic. He's inspirational. He does a lot of, you know, he makes these great relationships with people. So what's going through his head when he initially gets on the show? Now, I appreciate, and it's more than likely part of it is just a change of scenery, a change of experience, but I also think part of it is a little bit of clout chasing. Not that there's anything inherently wrong with that,
bro,
but think about it. I mean, the dude is
he's
getting
going up
into
there to like boost his Instagram brand. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that though. At the same, you know what I'm saying? Because the dude is trying to be an architect, which I imagine, especially in Japan, in fucking Tokyo of all places, is extremely, extremely competitive. You know what I mean? So if he's getting into fields that are extremely competitive like this, and next thing you know, he has this platform to elevate who he is, elevate his work ethic, and how he can mediate problems and work through things, and what kind of personality he has, he can showcase it there. And I think he takes that opportunity, and that's nothing. It looks good for him. You know what I'm saying? He looks good.
I think I get it, Colin.
What?
I think I've unlocked the secret. The reason Hansan was on this show for, 11, 13 episodes, right? And that's like 30 minutes a piece. That's nearly 6.5 hours of footage. Let's say Hansan's maybe in like 20% of it. So he's got an hour of footage of him out there.
Is this going to end in Half-Life 3 confirmed? Because I'm going to be really sad.
No. No, but you made the joke, so the game's still never coming out.
Damn.
There's an hour of footage of Hansan being the goodest boy out there. How much you want to bet that when he was applying to go to Harvard, and then he actually got an interview, and they were like, "So can you speak to your character?" He was like, "Well, if you look at Netflix, there is an hour or more of footage of me being perhaps maybe the best human being ever." I'm a humble person. I wouldn't say that personally, but it's out there. I'm just saying, make the judgment for yourself.
Oh man, because they do like there's those essays where it's like, tell us about a challenge you faced or something, and it's like he has had no challenges in his life because he's perfect. So he's going to talk about, I lived in this, group house for a while, and I really had to step up kind of as the mediator because there was this girl and I really wanted her to do better, but she had this evil twin.
Fuyumi. Winter me.
Winter. Yeah, we finally, it took me too long to get that. Natsu is summer, Fuyu is winter.
Yes. And by the way, we appreciate people's comments too, correcting us.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you. YouTube comments for getting that.
Yes, shout out.
But I mean, I think Robert's point kind of stands though. Not only is this dude a genuinely, at least seemingly genuine, fucking good dude with work ethic out the wazoo, he also might be a fucking genius.
Yeah, like he's all of those things and can prove it.
Yeah, like the dude is secretly, he's just a fucking genius. And honestly, I don't blame him for it. This was like, if this was his plan all along, the dude is a fucking mastermind, and I applaud him for it.
I'm down for spreading the good word of Hansan. Maybe that was it. Maybe it was so that, like his cult following would be built up. Not like Instagram. I'm talking about people being like, he is our Lord and Savior.
Worship.
I mean, he said, it's right there on episode, what was it, Mr. Perfect in the City or something like that. I can't remember the number of the episode. I think it was number 24. Oh, sorry, it was new It Girl in the City. But he was basically, when he was talking with his dudes, he's like, it's not a decision to go into Terrace House based on logical reasoning. He's just basically looking to shake things up, and he just wanted to change, and he wanted to see how that would kind of change his path in life.
And it just so happened to work extremely in his favor.
Yeah, it was just a laissez-faire, and that's another reason why I thought he was going to be a little immature, because he didn't really have. It didn't seem like at that time a direction.
What's your dream? What's your goal? I don't think it's very clear. You need to have something more clear as your dream. I'm the dream police.
And you said a lot, and I don't get you.
Can we please have a thought experiment? What would happen in the house if instead of Makoto, let's get rid of Makoto because he's Makoto. Let's replace him with Hansan, and then the tap sensei discussion happens.
Oh, they would clash like a motherfucker.
No. I don't think they'd argue.
I'm not saying they would. I wouldn't say they were arguing, but I would say Hansan would sit there and give him, his very signature stoic look.
He would say something incredibly apt.
Yes,
and
he would say something insightful. Yeah, exactly. He would say something very insightful, and then he would probably tell Yuki, like in a very Hansan, way more laid back way, like, "Hey man, just bring it down a notch.
Yeah, just live the Hawaiian life."
Right.
He would say something so good though. There, I know he would.
He would. I don't know what that thing is, but it would be fucking great.
That's why we're not him, because we don't know what to say.
I think it would mimic what he did and this is maybe the last moment I have of gushing over the things that Hansan has done.
Gush.
So there's this one dinner they have when they're welcoming Momoka and Hayato, the ballerina and the chef, right? This is like later. This is maybe like episode 32, 33-ish. And they're all having dinner, and Misaki kind of grills Hayato really hard. Hayato's dreams to be an actor, and then that failed, and he decided to quit to become a chef.
Why? Why did she push it like that? That was
so weird. Hard, right? It was.
Yeah, she did. She was probing it like crazy.
Like, here's the thing: when the moment he came in the house, I really feel like Tama-san. We're getting off a little bit of tangent here, but I really feel like Tama-san had her scorecard already filled out before he showed up. She did not like him. She didn't like him. He was a player. She just and maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. We'll find out later, but. She definitely kind of had a bias towards him in a negative sense, and she wasn't going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I felt a little bit of like twisting the knife a little bit at that time, and I don't know what purpose that served, but they made the man cry. Are you happy now? He's crying.
I have a totally different opinion.
Okay.
I think that there's a possibility that in her doing that and saying that, and it's like, well, I don't think you should have quit. I think you should have, you can start again if you want to. Maybe that was her trying to mirror Hansan in being like the inspirational, like, you can do it, like, don't give up on your dreams, etc. But it just came out so poorly.
It just didn't come out the right way
It
at
just
all.
felt like twisting the knife instead.
I can see that, and I do respect Terashima for sticking to his guns to be like, no, I've decided it's happened, because I know what it's like too to put like almost a decade into a career path that you think is going to happen. You know, and then you have to really come to a fork in the road and be like, is this going to be who I am? Someone who dies trying and failing at this, or am I going to go and change and you know, commit to a completely different possible life? And so I literally had to do that thing. So I really had, without getting too personal, I really related to Terashima's kind of struggle there. It was tough to
Takes
watch.
courage.
So
Yeah.
I do want to point out, there is, I personally believe, a sort of irony in that Hayato cried because he was adamant that he was giving up on being an actor, yet this would totally be in his reel if he were going to be an actor. Like, look,
He
at me
wasn't
crying
acting
on
though.
command.
That's it. It was heartfelt tears.
Well, maybe he's such a good actor that you didn't think them. Anyway,
Oh.
the point here, I'm bringing this back to Hansan. We'll talk about Hayato in another episode for sure, probably. But to bring this back to Hansan, so Misaki makes Hayato cry. And this isn't just like a, oh, you're dumb. This is like a core part of your being for the past decade. I don't like it kind of cry. You know, like, this is a very deeply rooted, very emotional, like, you can't just whisk this away.
It's painful.
And there's a quiet moment, very uncomfortable, because there are 4 other people at the table who just,
Can't we just go out and have a nice meal without people starting shit?
This is why
Yeah,
we can't have
and
nice things.
and then it's quiet.
much.
And then Hansan just speaks up and says, you know, there's a certain admiration and respect that you should have that you can have for someone who knows when to let go, because that in and of itself can be the harder thing to do.
He sees the
Yeah,
good in all things, man, and brings it out. He brings out the best in everybody,
Yeah.
even Fuyumi, man. It's a really cool talent to have that.
Like, how does he have these cheat codes to life? He just knows the exact right thing to say. It's like he has a dialogue tree, like Mass Effect, but then the right choices in green all the time.
And it's
He
and
just
it's
has the Paragon choice there all the time.
And it's one thing to know the right thing to say at the right time in a group setting, but it takes a certain level of cojones to like actually give enough of a fuck to do it too. Mm-hmm. You know, because that's a character flaw moment here. Like, that's where I'm like, sometimes I just shut up because I just don't give a fuck. Like, I could say something here, but I'm just gonna no. I'd rather not.
That's how
So
you
I
know
admire
Jack.
him for that.
That's
It's a way
how
to
you know
be.
Jack gives a fuck about this podcast. He always talks.
If I
He
am
always talks.
yes, if I'm talking to you, I want to talk to you. I want you to talk to me.
I think though, like, and Hansan's right. I mean, Hayato clearly has work ethic. You know what I'm saying? He probably tried really hard at being an actor, because I say what you want about Hayato, he's a damn good chef from what we've seen on the show. I mean, he works at this very exclusive restaurant where it's him and one other chef, and they serve like 6 whole tables. You know what I'm saying?
He's
Like,
talented. He's talented.
Like, and he actually gives a damn and tries. It's not like he gave up and now he's working at McDonald's.
you die. I mean, he doesn't work at a McDonald's. but-
He can't. McDonald's.
I want McDonald's now. Why you guys gotta do this to me?
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Go ahead,
No,
Daly.
no. Now we owe Ronald a lot of money.
Damn it, Colin! Did you just do that?
Don't do it
I
again.
didn't say anything.
Any
yeah,
other corporate jingles we want to spit on this podcast?
But yeah, so even in this moment, and this is the twilight hours of Hansan, because I'm pretty sure the episode after is when he announced, or maybe the 2 episodes after, he announces he's leaving. So he's probably in his head, he already knows, I'm not going to be here much longer, so let me leave some more dank nugs of info for these people.
That's exactly his thought process too. Is I gotta sprinkle some dank nugs of
I need a
wisdom
Japanese
out
translation
here.
for that term, dank nug.
I know.
You know, maybe he like leaves little post-it notes around the house, like in the cupboards and stuff, so when people
Oh my
find them, it's just like
God.
little nug of info. Little
Inspirational
Hansan advice.
posts.
And the
One
man,
of it's just a smiley face signed Hansan.
to me, guys, the man can almost literally do no wrong. Like, yeah, he smokes, so that would like limit the amount of time I'd hang out with him, because obviously when he's smoking, I probably wouldn't be around. But I mean, he is working so hard towards his end goal, which is passing and being like, is it like what, the top 1 or 2 architects in school or something like that? I can't remember, but it's like, or you have to win the presentation. I can't remember, but very few people.
It wasn't just in his school. This was a citywide architecture competition for all of the schools in Tokyo.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay,
Yeah.
Awesome. So even harder core, right? And so that's his ultimate goal here. And even in defeat, I feel like the man is victorious because he did not win, but just his attitude towards life was very inspiring. He didn't treat it like it was like the end of the world, kind of like Ronda Rousey. Like, she took an L and she's still taking those L's. Like, she's a very poor loser. Whereas Hansan, I don't know, somehow he again just got through it gracefully, and it endeared me even more to him, even though he didn't win that competition. I don't know, anybody else?
He took the L and made it his own W.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, well, he was just like, I mean, he took it in stride, and he was like, just watch. I'm gonna be the top architect, and my stuff is going to be built in the city. Just watch.
And he made a pledge to his roommates before he left, like, I'm gonna be an architect. You're gonna see one day. I'm gonna work hard. It was inspiring, man.
How do you? Yeah, that's some straight like movie shit. Like Robert was saying, you can't make this shit up. Like,
does he have a ghostwriter? Is he Drake on accident?
God,
He might be.
You would think so, man.
He might have a writer that just feeds him lines like through his earpiece.
They're
Maybe
cue cards, that we don't know about.
just
I mean,
off screen.
He needs to just stop whatever he's doing. Fuck the architecture. He just needs to write like Hallmark cards the rest of his life.
There you go.
That or just become like an inspirational speaker or
Start
something.
an advice column.
I mean,
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. Like, man, the loss. I can only imagine that the house felt when he was gone. He was the glue. He was totally the glue that kept things
He was
smooth.
definitely Big Papa. It was like, we got conflict. Let's go ask Hansan about it. He'll sort it out, and everyone will be happy in the end.
a sage 27-year-old.
I also want to give him respect in that the way he decided to leave the house, it was very decisive. It wasn't this, I'm thinking about leaving or whatever.
That annoys me for some reason. Yeah, when people are like, I'm gonna leave, I guess.
Like,
He's like, nope, I'm leaving tomorrow.
Yeah,
You're joking. You're joking.
He
No, you
probably
can't.
knew when he was leaving, Like, he knew in his head, like, okay, I'm leaving on this day. And the day before, he only tells Masaki and Armand, the 2 other longest running people in the house who have known him the longest in the house.
Yeah. By
Because
the
he
pool.
trusts them the best.
By the pool. And then again, the single tear hitting straight to the ground. Doesn't even roll down the cheek. Thomas-san's like, no, you can't leave. Trying to bargain with him, like, oh, stay a little longer.
Yeah, and that's where he delivers the "Don't be a firefighter, be happy" line. That really one of the best ways to go out, And you can just tell Armand, even though he doesn't emote much, you can tell
He doesn't.
he's a little sad. He's like, oh no. That's kind of it. Just like, oh no.
The man is high, okay?
On life.
He is
life.
Thank you.
blazed.
Armand
On life.
Satteraf.
But yeah, and then and then the dinner that night, he tells everyone else in the house that he's leaving. Obviously, he doesn't hit the others as hard. Riko and Hayato don't know him as well. Neither does Momoka or the other guy. No girl. Am I forgetting a
Nope.
girl? I'm forgetting who.
Hayato, Terashima.
Did you already say Yuko? Riko?
Maybe. Okay, either way. The people who aren't Misaki
goodness.
and Armand.
It's
It doesn't hit
Terashima.
them.
I just said it.
Terashima. There you go. Thank you. Hayato. Yeah. It doesn't hit him as hard, obviously. Right?
They got other things in mind. We'll get to that.
They got other things to hit.
Oh,
Oh God. On the next episode of Tadaima, a Terrace House Podcast.
Yeah. I will say here's maybe a really great part though about how the show handled the way he left. I actually really like how, and I can't think of another time they've done this, where pretty much the second after Hansan leaves, we get the ping pong and we get Yuki in the house.
too soon. He I felt like his Uber didn't even pick him up yet by the time Yuki showed up.
He passes him.
Yeah.
I would
It's like,
I
oh,
would
hey, you must be
say
the new guy. Good luck.
that I kind of like the way they did that because now we don't have time to be sad about him. We just always
Yeah.
remember the times we were happy about him.
It wasn't
We're late
about,
in the game here,
it was
so
about the journey. Yeah. And then Burns comes in and is nothing like him.
Yeah, he crumps.
Bonds.
We'll talk about him in another episode, but
we lost Hansan for this.
we lost him for Crump Town.
Yeah.
trading down, y'all. Trading
to be
down.
to be fair though, in 2015, 2016, crumping was a little bit more of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I will say there was a time where I'm pretty sure Yuki says that he wants to be a backup dancer for Chris Brown, and
Chris
I was
Brown.
like,
Yeah.
Oh,
that
is
didn't
an
age well at all.
ugh.
No,
Well,
like,
with that,
back up,
let's-
back up.
I want to throw this out to you guys. Any final words you want to say about Yuto Handa before we close this chapter on him?
Hail
I would
our
just
Lord
like
and
to-
Savior.
I'd just like to say, I don't know, in the off chance that Hansan is never going to listen to this, but in the off chance that he is listening to this, damn, dude, you killed it. You're still killing it. And if I ever get the chance to meet Hansan, I am buying that man a beer or 3 or 5.
Get some Hepa
you're trying to get him
for all
drunk?
those. Yeah.
Dude, I don't know.
You trying to you trying to get him drunk?
all I
You
know
trying
is
to get him
stash.
home?
That would be one man that I would be more than happy to buy many rounds of drinks.
Oh,
I
I
thought
thought
you
that
were
was
gonna
going. Yeah.
Should have left it hanging.
Not where I thought I was going. In all seriousness, though, like I hope men and women, but especially men, can take some lessons from this. I just think he, during his time in the house, sets just great examples in a variety of weird, awkward situations that could have gone very poorly. He could have made some really poor life decisions on the show, and like I said, he takes no L's. He's basically bulletproof. He shows you the way. He shows you the path to a virtuous life. And I'm trying not to be corny, but I can't
I
help
thought
it.
you were going to say enlightenment.
No, but he just shows you great examples of how to be, and he's just I think he's a great role model. Aside from the smoking thing, I think he's a great role model.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it definitely felt like he never put blame on anyone for being the way they were, even in the most like frustrating of times. He always wanted to reach that person and didn't want to like give up on them. And I think that's a really admirable thing when it could just be just as easy as to write someone off and be like, they have no value, goodbye.
We should. I got inspired here. We should do this. Maybe not right now, but we should start thinking about like our Terrace House top 6 Hall of Fame, like top 3 boys, top 3 girls ever. Hansan's in the conversation. He's on the Mount Rushmore for Terrace House. Is all I'm
He's
saying.
always been in that conversation.
He's in the conversation.
He
So-
overlooks it from on high.
Actually, before I close out here, Daily, I want to ask: we've hyped up Hansan for you
Oh my.
probably way before you've ever seen him. Does he live up?
He does. Because the thing was,
Whoa.
I didn't know if he was going to be amazing or horribly amazing, like amazingly horrible. Because I would just hear like, oh, wait, but then Hansan. And it's like, Hansan. And it's like, it was just this name, this enigma. And the experience was good.
It's Zen.
She said
Chef's
that.
kiss.
She said that. Yeah, with
Yes,
her
thank
head
you.
tilted back, her eyes closed. It was
Good.
Yeah,
It's a
I
good
mean,
experience.
hey, Hansan, if you are somehow listening to this, hit us up at Tadaima Pod. We'll
Here's
respond.
my
You can
number.
guest.
Come,
You can be on the show.
call me sometime.
Just call.
Here's all of our numbers.
Dude, come
I've
practice
emailed you
English
20
with
times.
us. Yeah, come practice English with us on the show.
Yeah,
'Cause I can't
I mean,
speak
real
English.
talk. If you want to be a guest, that'd be really cool. Just
Awesome.
saying. That about does it though for this week's episode of Tadaima. We kind of want to close out this episode on a little bit of a somber note. Many of you have probably already heard, but for those of you who haven't, a very tragic event happened in Japan last Thursday at KyoAni's studio. It was a really bad arson. Many died and many more are injured. And it is probably one of the biggest mass murders in Japan since World War II. It's just a terrible situation overall. And I mean, for us, it's affected all of us in many different ways. And it might have affected you as well. So we just want to say off the top here, there is a GoFundMe started by Sentai Filmworks, another anime studio, that as of the time of recording, it's sitting at nearly $2 million, which is fan-fucking-tastic. Like, that's amazing. Of their original goal of $750,000. That's just great to see. You know, I mean, do you guys have any pieces you want to say? I don't want to.
Yeah. I mean, it is great to see the outpouring of support, and certainly, I think everyone would agree that no matter what it is, it's never going to be enough. We'd rather just not have this happen, right? It goes without saying, but it is great to see the community, the anime community, the Japanese community, the world community just come together with this. So yeah, really somber about it. You know, and this is the first episode we're recording since it happened, so we just didn't want to not mention it because, like Robert said, it affected everybody on the show, and yeah, just having them in my thoughts, and just thinking about recovery and thinking about what possibly good can come of this, and hopefully justice as well. I'm confident justice will be served too. But yeah, it's just a really tough thing to think about, and so we're doing our part in some small way, hopefully, to brighten your guys' day when bad things like this happen. So that's all I got.
I would just like to echo Jack's sentiment. I think that it's just, especially in situations like these that are so tragic and things like that, it's better that we focus on not so much the tragedy, but rather the culmination of amazing support that people have been giving post tragedy and things like that, because it really shows that in the time of great need that people can really come together for a good cause.
Yeah. And if you're unable to donate, don't feel bad. Don't feel like we're like trying to guilt you or anything.
Oh, not at all.
No. It's just really cool to see like people were able to do that. But also just like, if you haven't, maybe check out some of their work. I mean, I would say that KyoAni is probably the gateway that got me into Terrace House, because a lot of their anime is very slice of life, just everyday stuff. And having watched that, I knew that I would like something like Terrace House that is so chill and neat. So I just really appreciate their art, and I hope that we get to a place of recovery that I can continue to appreciate their art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the link will be in the description for the GoFundMe if you'd like to throw some money. If not, check out, there's a thread on r/anime on the subreddit that is so full of people who are coming together in solidarity, caring about these people who they've never met, but these people who have created this art that we all care about. And it's just so happy to see those it just makes me so happy to see those human tender moments come together, all because of the internet, which is primarily how we're reaching out to you too. So please feel free to help out in whatever way you can, because KyoAni has made a lot of shows and movies that have made me cry, but this is probably the saddest thing that I've cried over. So that does it for us here for this week at Tadaima. We'll be back next week, hopefully with a less somber ending, and hopefully with a world that isn't as tragic as it was last Thursday. Thank you.